All right, we get to reaction now. I'm going to start online and get to your calls. Let me first start with John, who's a high school teacher in the Bronx. He writes us saying, I teach at a public high school in the Bronx. It takes weeks to build up the trust between students and educators so real learning can happen in the classroom. Adding guns to this equation would destroy that trust in seconds. If you want students to learn, keep guns out of schools. Next comment, it comes from Kelly, also an educator at a middle school in Queens, and she says, at my school, you have to go through a metal detector and swipe an ID card to just get in. That's more than enough. Even our school security officers don't want guns anywhere inside the building, no matter who is carrying them. All right, let's get to a few phone calls here, and the panel will jump in wherever they see fit. Josephine calling us from Long Island. Josephine, thanks for holding. What do you think? Guns in schools, good or bad idea?
Bad idea. Teachers are human also. I'm sure we have quite a few psychiatric teachers out, people that need to be in psychiatric care as teachers. I'm sure we have quite a few that don't particularly like the kids that they're teaching. And I'm sure there's kids in classes that dislikes the teacher and does things to the teacher. I don't think we should provide any opportunities for anybody else or any more children to get hurt. This has been a tragic, really tragic disaster. But again, a tragic thing to happen. I mean, oh my God, I pray for those kids every day and the teachers alike. But it's tragic, but we shouldn't add more tragedy to it. I think this is a recipe for disaster.
All right,
period.
Josephine, thank you very much. Let's see if Gene agrees with you. Gene's calling us from West Islip. Go ahead, Gene, you're on the line.
Yes, I don't believe the teachers should have them for the simple fact that now there's already guns in the school. If children inside that school wind up in arguments and fights with each other and have the availability to run over to a teacher, a smaller teacher or whatever, disarm that teacher. Now they have a gun inside the school and start shooting at that person they're mad at and start hitting other students.
And somebody made the observation that what if a parent, like in every school, gets angry that little Johnny or Missy came home with a D, was upset with the teacher for unfair or unequal treatment. They come in, teacher doesn't, or teacher feels threatened, fill in the blank. All right, Barbara calling us from the Bronx. Barbara, what do you think?
I think that teachers should be allowed to carry guns. They should be trained. Of course, you can always have anything that can happen, but if you have well-trained people, I think that especially in Connecticut and Aurora, Colorado, these were not professional killers, and I think if someone had a weapon and had shot those shooters, they would not have been able to wreak the kind of havoc. It's just the world that we...
Barbara,
Sorry.
thank you very much for your phone call.
I got to jump in on that one because it's patently ridiculous. First of all, somebody who's that set on doing harm or doing destruction is always going to be more prepared than somebody who's, you know, teaching a class or working on the lunch line or something, and then all of a sudden has to turn into commando. And second of all, to me this is like taking off your shoes at the airport at this point. We're very good at solving the problem that just happened. So let's arm people in school so that way we don't have to worry about schools anymore. But then you're going to have another worry. It's going to be on the playground, or it's going to be at the soccer field, or it's going to be somewhere else. You can't send armed people forever else. And finally, instead of training these teachers to use guns, let's train them to teach. Let's spend a little more time focusing on what they're supposed to be doing.
And where this conversation is going also does illuminate what people have been saying from the absolute outset. By Saturday evening, Sunday morning, people talk about mental health, mental illness. That woman said these were not trained killers. These are people. And keep in mind, too, the deadliest school attack, as far as I know, not necessarily a shooting, but the deadliest moment in a school apparently was in the late 1800s, and it was a guy who blew up a school with dynamite, a mentally unbalanced person at the turn of the century. So it has so much to do with the mental state of these people. That is something else that needs to be on the table.
Richard, all I can tell you is from the NYPD simulated shooting room that I've done several times, once your adrenaline is going, it's so high when you're in a gun situation, and I was in a fake situation. I killed innocent people. You almost can't breathe. So to say that you're going to take a class and now you're Rambo.
And just to the point that you make about the training, how many things have we done just at this table about police shootings, questionable shootings, from the Sean Bells to the Diallos to the Luimas, and those are, forget about somebody goes to a class and then, you know, Joanne spends 3 hours with Frank who teaches her how to shoot at the range. You got veteran officers making tragic mistakes here
And you get people who somehow think they're going to turn into John McClane if something bad happens in their school. I mean,
Die Hard reference. Very nice.
And to be perfectly honest, it's not the mark of a successful and civilized and society where everyone is walking around packing heat. This is not. That is not the United States.
Tougher debate here is.
That's not the United States.
I'm with you,
point.
but I think the tougher debate. We'll keep this going after the break with more phone calls.
Well
is
said.
hopefully nobody here. I don't think anybody at the table says letting the lunch lady pack heat is a good idea.
Right.
But if some schools in this country, well before Newtown, had an armed officer in the school, can you make the argument after Newtown that an armed officer in every school is a good or bad idea? We'll come back
Yes,
with
you
that
can.
one.
Yes, you can.
And we'll get some more of your phone calls as well. Stay with us.